Good evening, everybody. Today is the 8th of June 2020, and this is Mumbai. I still say Bombay, and I'm so used to that. And the name got changed in 1995, guys, to Mumbai. Mumba Devi, goddess को appease करने के लिए, I guess. So a lot of us still say Bombay, and today we are going to have a very interesting chat with Mr. Sunny M.R. Mr. पहले लगता है, but इसके नाम में Mr. बाद लग रहा है. He's a music producer, he's a sound engineer, does studio work, live work, and he also gives a lot of masterclass and sessions and talks about his production experience, shares it with a lot of people. So we thought we'll get him on board.
There we have. Are yaar, and you are well lit as.
Yeah, I had to put a screen behind my phone to get this.
Smart boy. That's the way to go. So, hello, Sunny. Glad
Hello,
you could
Paji.
join us on this DAC conversation. We should have some interesting conversations with you. So, before diving into all the work that you body of work that you've done, I was just reading. You Patna, Bihar, Sunny, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So you did your schooling there, right?
So मैं 10th तक like I studied till 10th over there. And then after that we made a move. Shadab moved earlier to Bombay.
Okay,
And
by the way, everybody, Shadab Redin, the famous sound engineer who's doing some amazing work right now in the industry, is Mr. Sunny's brother. So what's the deal? He is Shadab Redin, you are Sunny MR. So how do we know your brother?
Okay, it's a long story. So what happens is his full name is right now Shadab Rain. So he kind of learned under a person. His name is Miraj Rain. I don't know whether you know, he's a sound engineer himself. So Shadab, as a respect to Miraj bhai, he took the surname.
Oh.
And that's how he's, yeah. Me, I have right from my childhood, घर पे सब लोग बचपन में बुलाते थे Sunny. So it just happened to be that everyone started calling me Sunny. So officially I became Sunny. Yeah.
So is there another name apart from Sunny of yours?
So Sanovar actually is my first name, but now it's become like Sunny Sanovar. Yeah, yes. That's...
Okay. So now everybody knows. Okay, good. So
yes, but we are bird brothers.
So how was Patna like? I mean, growing up in school, were you showing signs of musical bent or an engineering mind, or were you just like a nerdy student? What was going on in Patna?
I would say I was an okay student. I scored somewhere around 84% in my 10th exams.
Wow.
Not that bright, I would say, but I was always interested in computers.
Okay.
I was always interested in computers. Music, I think, Shadab was the one who was more inclined towards music.
Okay.
Just listening, we come from the time when, when we had cassette decks and all and at home. And
right.
then, we used to take out, mom had this Bose radio. And because the radio was kind of like, the whole AM scene was declining. So we took out the speakers, placed it, made it like a stereo system out of the cassette. Just small, stupid experiments what you do as a kid. That's pretty much it. We didn't have any, any formal training. No one in our family was in music as such. Dad was interested in singing, but, belonging to a place like Patna, there was no scope at that point of time for, at least for him. So that's pretty much, yeah.
That's what happened. And then cut to, like you said, 2001, you moved to Hyderabad. So what is that? Like the family shifted there or you decided to go to Hyderabad?
No. So the family. So Shadab moved to Bombay in 99, I guess. And then he started assisting Miraj bhai somehow. Like, they came across. My father's involvement was also there in that. And he started assisting. And then when I finished my 10th, I actually, Shadab was moving to Hyderabad. He had got a job over there. The real reason why I ended up moving there is because I wanted to continue my studies further.
Okay.
But then, it just, the whole engineering thing took over. So yeah, I
So how
assisted
did
Shadab.
okay, so how did this engineering thing happen? I mean, you just tried to follow Shadab, or is it like your interest was there, like you suddenly felt the
It
need
was just by
to
luck, sheer need of the hour. Number one is the need to make sure that your family survives,
okay.
and that is
That's
because
a very important point.
we yeah. So that's how Shadab started working, and then I was like, okay, I should contribute some. So I started assisting him, trying to learn, and the plan was to parallelly study as well, but engineering took over. So it was just by chance. There was nothing like we were meant to do this as such.
All right, okay. And I
Yeah.
mean, now you're telling me, and everybody needs to hear this. Now, this guy, by chance, sound engineer, so called, ended up going to Hyderabad and doing something like 300 albums of classical and Carnatic music, and according to 100
Yes.
gospel songs. So,
Yeah.
what zone were you in, man, doing all that?
Again, I would say okay, it was not a choice which I made. It's like, I was assisting Shadab, and then I got a chance to move to an independent studio. And there, some work was happening. And in 2002, I moved to a studio called the Kirtana Studio, where all these
Hmm.
Carnatic classical musicians were coming in. And I've been very lucky to have worked with like a lot of people, fantastic people. I was young, I was foolish, I was stupid. I wish I could stay there and go back and learn, because when you are young and there is a 8-10 minutes of music continuously played by four people, and you can't figure shit out in your head, and then you're like, what are you doing, and these are the non-DAW days again at the same time. So I've
Right.
worked on hi-hat and ADATs and all, and these were like pain back then.
Wow.
Uh, so it just happened to be that studio had a lot of clients, Carnatic classical clients, and the the later on realization what I had in my life was much later in 2007, when I, unknowingly, when you're young, you're living with this form of music, and you end up picking it. So I started differentiating between ragas, and I could. Oh, I see a little fatty in the background. Nice.
Yes, I just pitched.
Okay. Okay. So I got fascinated much later, and when I really heard the experimental side of jazz, which is Scott Henderson, and the this
So that's your stint with
jazz
Sandeep Chota.
fusion.
That's when
Yes,
you were
that
with
was so.
Sandeep Chota.
Yes, that was in 2007, and that is when I actually realized that jazz and Carnatic music was so similar. It's just that
So
jazz
close,
is a
yeah.
harmonized version, like an expansively harmonized version of Carnatic music, I would say. Otherwise, the syncopations and everything is like, so the following the scales. It's,
Right.
yeah, but that's what I figured out.
Oh, okay. So
So
that's your introduction to jazz and that form when you were with Sandeep Chota. You're working with him as an engineer.
absolutely, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so quick cut to Mr. Pritam Da. What was the story there?
With Pritam Da, a lot of people, a lot of friends. So when 2007, when he moved back to Bombay, we obviously met a lot of people. So the whole batch, like Nakash, Antara, Sargam, and this whole that time of batch Himani, we all were very good friends. And I remember Antara was working at Pritam Studio, including I think Kohinoor is also in the chat. I had
Yeah, yeah,
met
Kohinoor
Kohinoor
is
also
there.
around them. Yeah, so Antara used to constantly tell me that it's okay, you can move to Pritam Das place. And I was a little skeptical because Sandeep Chota was recording this fantastic album called as two-part album called as Matters of the Heart. It was a collaboration between some 50 odd jazz musicians from around
Right,
the
right.
world, and
Yeah, yeah.
I got a chance to mix on those and work with these amazing musicians. So I kept dealing. Then in 2008, I met Arijit. Arijit and I met at a friend's birthday party, and
But wasn't
He
Arijit
was
also working with Pritam at that time?
not then,
Not
not
at that
then. So
time. Okay,
this
okay.
not at that time. So 2008 he wasn't working, and he was also looking for work, and I heard him sing and play, this lanky fellow with a guitar, and I was like, okay, would you want to come and try out some songs at Chota's place? So give me a demo. A demo CD or something. So this guy gave me a demo CD. I played it to Chota, and then like many people don't know this, but Arijit's debut actually happened with a Telugu film which Sandeep Chota had done the music for.
Oh wow.
And then in 2009, Arijit moved back to his hometown, Jiaganj. And 2010 he came back, and then he joined
Okay.
Pritam Da. And that joining also happened because of Antara Mitra. She was the one
Okay.
who put Arijit in front of Pritam Da. And by then Arijit and I were also very good friends. Antara was a good friend any which ways. So this whole jumbled up scene happened that, okay, let's join the place. So Arijit came back and he called me up and he said, listen, I've joined प्रीतम दास प्लेस सो तू भी कर लेना, आजा कर लेते। वैसा हो गया जैसे बचपन में आप डिसाइड करते हो ना कि ये स्कूल खत्म होने के बाद हम लोग कॉलेज साथ में जाएंगे।
कॉलेज साथ में जाएंगे।
So
मतलब प्रीतम
it
दा के
was
साथ चलेंगे।
हाँ, exactly. It was like a school. So we joined. We joined somewhere around. Arijit joined a couple of months before me, and then 2010 towards the end is when I joined Pritam Das place.
Wow, you have a person from New Jersey, Vishal Thakkar. You know him? He's reaching out to you.
Yeah, of course, of course. Hello, Vishal, how are you? Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm just trying to put it in my mind together a picture. You have learned now music production, you've got exposed to jazz, you've already previously done Carnatic music and gospel. So now
Yes.
there is this potpourri of things now collecting in your entire mind. So when you start working for Pritam, now this is film, this is Bollywood, right? With
Absolutely.
Pritam Da,
Yes.
you can't
Yes.
get any more Bollywood than that. So
Yeah.
how do you mentally make adjustments to that? Like, because with your past, what you've brought with you, and now you're working with Pritam. So how
Yeah.
does that work for you?
So luckily, you know what, KG, like you would agree, you have been in this industry for so long and you have been an inspiration. I will actually point out some incidents which you wouldn't remember with me actually. But which is, you know that the time when you had come in and much later, even in early 2000, there was nothing called as each person was genre specific. Every person
Mhm.
was supposed to work on what they were given.
Given,
Uh,
yeah.
a, a Jim Satya could program an orchestral piece at the same time do a different track altogether. So I think I come from that mentality that at the end of the day, if you go to a pani puri store and if the person wants to eat pani puri, give them pani puri and not save puri. So in a simpler, very simpler
Right.
way, I think that
True.
would be the easiest way to define it. That first and foremost, most important thing is for you to, that's why, listen to different type of genres and acquire the
Mm.
taste to be able to do different things.
People, I hope you're hearing this, what he's saying. Very, very critical. Listening. I think everybody on this show has underlined this, not enough maybe, that you just need to expose yourself to different genres, different style, different kinds of music, world music, whatever, so that when somebody tells you, you have an immediate reference in your head. You don't start going, what is this music? I mean, because people just come and say, "Acha, mujhe ek na reggae track karna." You have no idea what R for reggae is. What are you going to do? So, what he just said, please, I hope everybody who's listening, keep this in mind. Listen, expose yourself to as much music as you can. Anything else which you
Yeah.
would like to add to that, Sunny?
Yeah, also the fact that when we go abroad, we all have had our share of experiences abroad. So they are pretty amused by the way we work. It's vice versa when you're in India, but when you go abroad and when they look at you and they say, "Oh, you have worked," or even for an example, like if they have heard Pritam Sarg, they're like, "Okay, a single person, how could he do like 7 different songs? How could he compose them?" They're amused because we are a country of improvisation. Our musicians improvise. They are
Yeah.
musicians. The solo lead musicians are different. They follow a form of music, sheet music. So that way, we Indians are more used to and open to that, I would say. That's it.
Yeah, I think we are very versatile. We can survive and make do anywhere because of this adaptability that we have. And what you
Absolutely.
said, I will just reiterate that when we were touring with AR, everybody would ask us like, what kind of show is it? But I would end up saying it's a musical because
Yeah.
there is everything in it. I mean, he does from rock to disco to reggae to semi-classical to a ghazal to a Sufi song. Everything is in that one show. And when you go for a show, let's say by any artist, I mean, I went to the U2 show or a Mark Knopfler show, it's one genre specific. So it's easy to handle, it's easy to control, it's easy to set it up. And how do you set up a multi-genre show and then come out on top? That's the whole
Absolutely,
thing.
yes.
And I mean, if you've done that, I think you've cracked it all. So,
Yeah.
huge shout out to all the engineers who work in India with Indian artists who actually have this huge repertoire. And the guys, you're doing an amazing job, all of you, that you've managed to make your artists sound good, including you, Sunny. So, your experience with Arijit, you joined him in his live shows and working with him on his production. So, how's that?
Yeah. So we had a pact, like, we are like, I don't say this often because people start chasing me for his pictures and and like, for different things. Please मेरा एक message उन तक पहुंचा दो types. I do get a lot of message like that. नहीं, but that is different. See, you being from the industry, you understand what isolation means if someone has decided. But unfortunately, it's no one's fault. So, but we are very, very close friends. And when in 2013, when his songs started releasing, and 2012 actually, Pritam Das Rabta, I think, released in 2012. Okay. So 2012 is when he started getting the offer for shows, etc. And you won't believe he didn't want to do shows, live shows, because he was bored of it. He had done that a lot in the past. And I had to convince him for a couple of months to do that actually. And then he agreed only on one condition, that I manage him initially. I started doing that. So I started managing him initially. And then when the load started...
Talk about the devil. Your brother is here.
Yeah, brother is here. Okay, hello. So actually, then the work increased, and then we involved Tarsem in between, and then things went by. So we had this thing that if we are doing any shows also, we'll only do it if both of us were free and stuff like that. And it's a mutual understanding. Wow. And we also wanted to make sure that people don't only experience only audio or whatever. We wanted to create an audiovisual experience.
Full experience.
Yes. So right from stage designing till the last song happens and pack up, I'm there for the show. And it's a team effort. Obviously, it's not nothing you can do alone. But yeah, the whole thing of even getting Tarsem, and he actually listened to us so much, so well, because we said, okay, we need this. I need outboard gear. He said, okay, let me figure out. He would never say a no. So a good manager, some madness with the artist, the engineer, the producer, and then your show is pretty much sorted. So we went from a 25 feet first show. Right now our stage is like 250 by 200. So yeah, it's been a crazy time.
But it's a very good equation that you have there, I must say, Sunny, because for an artist of that stature to kind of say that I want to work with you exclusively, one, and secondly, say that you and I will work when both of us have the time, and then we will put our ideas together and then tell the other person, the manager, whatever needs for that show. I think that is a beautiful, enviable position to be in with an artist to have an equation like that. That's beautiful. That's really, and it's
also a shout out to all the budding artists and people to understand that human relationships are way more important than any kind of work. Absolutely. So we were friends before, we continue to be friends. Maybe we don't meet as often as before, but we stay in the same building, so it's okay.
Yeah. So you don't get tired of each other or something like that?
No, not at all. We have all our studio set up. So someday if I feel like working, I go there. It's a jumbled up equation. So it's good. It's beautiful. It's a mess. It's beautiful. So
it's a nice chaos, but it's a good chaos.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like that. No, I would just like to underline what you just said about artists and understanding that for young engineers and artists, both of them. If you all look at U2, I mean, their manager whom they retired 3-4 years back, Paul, and their engineer are the same guys they hung out with when they first started playing in Ireland, and they played the first few gigs. They've been the same guys. They've been with them ever since. So the U2 is not just those three, it's actually those five. Like George
Yeah,
Martin was the fifth Beatle. So those kind of synergies, equations is what actually goes into making a really great art. That's been
absolutely.
my belief, and I see that with you. I've unfortunately never seen any of your Arijit's live concert. Next time, please invite me. I'd like to come and stand with you at the
Done,
front of
done,
house.
done, done.
But I heard great things about it, and that just further underlines that when you put your energies, synergies together, great magic can happen, and that's what music and recording is all about. So, shout out to you, Arijit, and your entire team with TM, everybody that you're all working as a team as one. That's really
Absolutely. I have
beautiful.
a
So,
crazy tech team also, like really crazy. These guys are the most, the most selfless people. मैं उनको बोलता हूँ कि यार मेरा हम लोग का सामान बढ़ के अभी 800 kgs हो गया, and they're like, it's okay, we'll help. So no questions. They're like really crazy. We have had these long 10 hours meetings and stuff like that. It's great.
okay, so somebody just asked in here, how important are people skills nowadays other than software creative skills?
People skills, it's not only about nowadays. Even if you would say Adam and Eve, it exists from that that point of time.
How
And
to avoid the
people
snake,
skill.
people skill.
Absolutely. And also the thing is that people skill is not that you talk to someone and immediately you guys become the best of the best. It needs, just like how for you to like a form of music, you need to vibe with it. It's the same with
Right.
people also.
You
Yeah.
need to vibe with them. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, given your classical background, there was this girl, Siddhi, she asked a very interesting question. She says, what are the possibility of a student of classical music to become a music producer, and like how can that happen?
Absolutely. So, see, for me, the learning happened on the job. Luckily, I didn't. It's a great thing, I would say. You have to always, when you learn an art, just the way you learn it, you have to be ready to unlearn an art as well at the same time. That's what I believe, because unlearning is way more difficult. There are ways said, just like how we said that, if we talk about even musical theory or music theory in general, if people wouldn't be breaking music theory, there would be no hip hop, there would be no trap and drum and bass and different genres like that, right? Like
Yeah.
it has to be broken at some point of time. So it is not that difficult, to be very honest, as long as you are just ready and be prepared to follow your instincts more than what you have learned
Mm.
while on the go. It is easily possible, yes.
It's easily possible. Great, good answer. There's another guy who says when you're jumping between projects, and which we all engineers do, we are
Yeah,
mixing something today, and halfway through some other rush job will come and we'll mix something else. So I think what it was
absolutely.
trying to ask is how do you in your mind switch from one to the other that quickly as if you're on a digital recall? How do you do that?
Okay, there's a simple explanation to it. There is something called as the 50-minute rule. So the 50-minute rule says that if you're paying attention to anything for more than 50 minutes, you lose attention to that certain subject. So
Right.
you can't go beyond that. So the most important thing, because I have faced this, like we were doing, just a recent example would be we were doing Jagga Jasus, which was a musical, and Jab Harry Met Sejal at the same time, two different films. Jagga Jasus, we were doing the background score, and Harry Met Sejal ka songs. So it's like, so one day I would sleep, wake up, and I had to do something else. The easiest way to do it is take breaks. That is number one.
Mm-hmm.
If you are really stuck in a project, take an hour break and then start on the next one. And breaks is, even if you're working on the same project, you lose perspective towards the project after an hour. So it's pointless. You might as well take a 5 minutes break and then just start. So that's how I have trained myself, that if something is getting on my head, or else if I have to shift to something, I just take a quick break, think over it, or else don't, do not think about anything at all and just jump in. That's,
So,
I,
so
I
what
think
would be
you
your
can easily explain this as well.
no, no. What would you? So what would you call your break? So what do you do in your breaks? For example, if you're mixing and then you have to take a break and you
Yeah,
realize you've just saturated yourself. So what is
absolutely.
your break moments? What do you do in that time?
Cool. So I usually, number one is, I smoke. not a very good thing. I do not publicly publicize it at all, but yes, I do, and it's a break in itself, and then you empty your hand. But for those who don't, there are multiple ways. Instead of listening to more music, you can just quickly maybe play a 5 minute game, or just go talk to your family if you're at home, or just
Mm.
phone a friend. It's like kaun banega crorepati. You have multiple options, so you can either phone a friend, or else you can do phone a family, or take an audience vote, like ask the people what should I do.
But but game is a very interesting thing, because I know a lot of people do that. I mean, you get out and you are on your game or something for about 2 rounds or 3 rounds. It kind of totally
Yeah,
de-stresses you out from the scene. I've
absolutely.
seen a lot of engineers do that. Good. So that's a good call. How do you know, somebody's asking, that you've overproduced a track? Like, when do you know when not to, or where to stop when you're producing a track?
It is, it again links to the previous question, I would say. The thing is, when you keep on working on something again and again and again, and then you get stuck into trying to fill up everything. So what happens is, you have already got fatigued with your ears. Then you're frustrated because you're not trying to, you're not able to achieve what you're actually trying, and then you keep on adding, and then it's like a jumbled up pile, and then you go sleep, and then morning you come back and like, this sounds like shit. And it has happened with me in the past. It's just that I don't get easily fried in my head. I'm very hyper in general, but I'm calm in this department. So
So,
I think,
okay.
yeah, I sorry to cut you. So I
No, no, it's
think
okay.
over it. I really think over things, not once, not twice. And also, for me to say, if I get a song to mix, because even in mixing you can end up overdoing everything. Everyone knows it. Overdoing EQs, cutting off too much of lows, or whatever you call it as. There are so many things which you can do. So usually, my only mantra has been, because somewhere in my life I realized that less is more. I keep telling this to
Mm,
everyone, and probably in every session I
yeah.
have done till date, I have always said less is more. So instead of analyzing tones just musically, you also analyze them frequency wise by your hearing, not by your meters, and see
Right.
whether it is, number one, not filling in completely, number two, not taking over other of your sounds. And that's how you can easily achieve this thing, and stay away from overproducing. Also, once you have produced, give it some time, give it an hour, 2 hours break, come back, and you will have your answer ready on the plate, that yes, I have overproduced. You will understand it, you'll get it.
So
Yeah.
I hope everybody's listening. Um, I I had a kind of a small technique which I used to do, is like, when you are producing music, for example, of any artist or a band, I would just let my creativity flow. I would not stop. I would not analyze. I would not judge. I would not do anything. Whatever was happening in my mind, it used to be a direct flow, and just put it out there. So once it's out there on the door, everything is there. Take a break, come back, and then have a listen. It's easier to cut, take things out if you
Yes.
overproduce, and you'll get that idea. But don't judge, or don't stop your creativity. Let it come, or when it happens, just let it
Let
flow.
it go. Perfect.
And then later on,
That
go
makes
back
complete
and
sense.
have a sense of delivery and see, okay, see how the picture is. No, I've done a little bit too much here, so knock that off, knock this off. Somebody who's really, I mean, he really inspired me was AR on this, because,
Hmm.
I mean, he was ruthless. I mean, he would hear a
Yeah.
song, and while I'm mixing, he would say, yeah, that music is too boring. Cut those 4 bars off. And I'd say, but yeah, that's a beautiful piece, this lovely guitar. And no, it's boring. I'm getting bored. Cut it off. And I would mute it and keep it aside. And he would say, no, cut it, throw it away. I don't even want a backup of it. And I was like, that's ruthless. Like that, wow. He said, no, I don't want it. Period.
Yeah.
So that was a huge learning. I mean, to be able to take that decision about your own music, wow, it's your own baby, to say, yeah, no, I don't want it. Did something to me, and I said, oh, we need to learn this, like, to be critical to that extent with yourself before you put it out for others. So that's
Absolutely.
where I was
It
coming from on
makes
that one.
it's absolutely true, and this is again a thing which has been overly discussed. Like, how do you stop yourself from? So in fact, even like, yeah, a couple of days ago, I just did a question answer thing, and a similar question happened, and I had something similar to say, that you do whatever you want, stop it, then check it later, and be very a song is like your baby, and then you just delete the sections which you really feel that it's not required. It's okay. It's okay
Hmm.
to let go.
It's okay to let go. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think people are complaining my audio is low. Guys, I have a bad throat. I've been speaking a lot. So please forgive me.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, I'll
raise up your
decrease my
volume.
volume then.
No, no, you're okay. So
So
somebody is
in
asking even,
yeah,
this is all relative. Audio is all relative. So if we, हम
absolutely.
दोनों related हैं. Somebody was asking that they are drummer and they were asking if it's important to be a keyboard or a piano trained person to get into music production.
Honestly, there is one answer which is there are actually multiple answers, but to be very honest, I would say no. Most of the musicians, regardless of whether they have been trained or not, like I have not been trained in music, I picked up while on the job. Lucky for me, I was young enough to do that. But most of the musicians who are like, say, including drummers, or pianists or guitarists, you'll see them like jamming a little bit on the drums, or you'll see a
Mhm.
drummer just coming and playing the bass. Everyone who's related to music, and more importantly listening to a lot of stuff, naturally is getting trained somewhere if you're paying attention. So most of the hip hop producers, if you take in the West, like these amazing tracks, they sound phenomenal, and the hip hop zone is based on a 4 bar loop.
Mm.
And those producer beat makers, they just do those 4 bars, probably don't understand that much of harmony sense and stuff, but they know what feels good, what sounds right, what's not. So I don't think so it should be a problem for a drummer also to get into music production.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I'm just trying to recreate a scenario. You go to a music director and you work with that music director and they have a song which is basically a melody over some rhythm or a guitar part or something, and they hand it over to you saying, "Hey boss, ye le gana," or let's music produce it or arrange it or let's just set it up. So how do you decide which direction to take it in? Because you know it. You can take a song and go in any direction that you want.
Any direction, yeah.
Any
Yeah.
direction. Okay, the way. How do you decide on which direction to take the song? Somebody has that question, so I'm collaborating that with my question as well.
Absolutely. For me, I would say that it's a very different thing for everyone, but everyone has something called as oral hearing, an inside ears which don't exist physically, but they hear things, right? Everyone hear things. My pianist is crazy that way. He would play a song and he would say, "There's a fantastic part in this," and then when he plays it in front of me and that song doesn't have anything that fantastic, and he's like, "Oh, I thought it was there," which means he has imagined it in his head. It happens. I'm sure it has happened with you, with a lot of musicians. So because it also depends on experience. Number two, it also depends on how many songs you have heard in your entire life. So if
Mhm.
you can hear a song and you can relate to maybe a song that this was the vibe of it, or else even if the composer has just sung the melody of it. So I could not go like if Pritam da would have given me Channa Mere, when he had given me, obviously there were no lyrics, but when you hear the tune, you understand what's the feel of it. It's got a thing. It's got a zing on its own. He has this guitar playing, and you understand that okay, that's what is required in this. So
Right.
it's really to develop. It's really all about to develop your hearing and your taste, and how much you can actually bring it to the physical world. Also, most of the times you hear some arrangement and you can't get it down because that song is probably not meant to be in that direction, and it's totally fine. But that is how I usually differentiate. So even if I get a song to mix or else produce or to do additional production or just music programming or beat making, what I in general do is I leave it on a loop, absolutely with nothing or whatever material they have sent, and I just play it for probably say 1 hour or so, just in loop, nothing else. And I do my regular internet surfing and looking for articles and blah blah and all that shit. And then by the time when I've stopped the song, I already have an idea built in my head, and then that's when
Mm.
I start, instead of just starting it like instantly. So
Oh, okay.
that's my
So
method.
if you have ever counted from the time you get the song to produce to the time you finished mixing it, let's say till the time, or let's say even mastering it, and the time you hand it over to the client, How many times would you have heard the song? Any idea?
KJ, I could ask the same question to you, and I don't know what kind of crazy numbers you would come up with, but I would say if I had to really think of it a lot, it would be over 500 times at least.
At least. So the reason I'm asking that question is I'm just trying to get a message across to everybody who's listening and who's tuned in that look at this unique position, this job, the engineer or the producer has. You have listened to a song in excess of 500 times and you're still trying to be objective about it. How do you make that
Yeah.
happen? How do you do that?
Patience. I would say patience. So there are two ways of doing it. Obviously, when you're working for someone, say if you're working for a Pritam, you have to make sure first you are satisfied with the product. Then you play it to Pritam. See, now we are talking about the non-creative side of it also a little. So you play it to a Pritam, and then Pritam da says that मेरे को ये ठीक लगा, but मेरे को ना अंतरा में ना drop लग रहा है. So you do something to fix it. So I do that fixation. Then it goes to someone else. Then probably the director hears it, and then the choreographer hears it, and everyone has an opinion these days also. So, so the only key I would say is number one, if you are really sure of something, this is where your people skill will come in time, and you try and convince the person, that make them understand why the thing what you have done is nicer than what they are suggesting, or else try and find a balance where you are not hurt emotionally, and you are doing what is the job what has been given to you. And number three, also it's very important to understand that a composer who's given you this job has not become either a big or whatever, or he's not got a movie because of you. Okay, he's got the film because of him, because of what he is, because of what he has done. So it's a Pritam, if Pritam da tells someone that change the track like this, he has a vision. He has done so many films. He understands what it takes for the song to be nicer. Maybe that's the best thing which I've done till date. But I will discard it and I'll do it again, because it's all about believing each other also, right? Like you have to believe him. Otherwise, you can never coexist and work.
No, that's a very beautiful line you've said, that to be able to and to have the courage to actually just put it aside.
Yeah,
One gets very emotionally attached to the work we do, obviously. I mean, otherwise, if we were not emotionally attached, I don't think we'd be able to do the kind of work that we do. So, yes, we are
absolutely.
emotionally attached, but to be able to put it aside because somebody does not see your vision the way you are, that I think is very courageous on your part. I mean, it really is to be able to do that. I must say
I
that.
think most of the people, like even you would have taken some calls in the mix. The first thing you would have decided to tell the person that this is what sounds good to me, and probably the person comes up with a suggestion which you try and incorporate, because our minds first go in denial mode because we have already decided what is best, right?
Yeah.
So the most important part is that instead of doing that, you take your time, you chill out a little, and then you think over what the person has said and try and implement it. If it works out, great. If it does not work out, you can always show the person that it didn't work out. So
Yeah, so you can do that.
yeah,
Do you save up those mixes, the ones you had done which didn't get accepted, or do you save up that production, like to go back? Do you go back to it sometime and listen to it?
everything is saved. So we have this major habit of, like, even at Preetham's place and in general, even before, like even if we add a flute to a file or just a click to a file, we always do a save as. It's you,
Yeah.
you know it's for the betterment. So everything is saved all the time. Yeah.
So, guys, I hope you are listening to this. Very, very important when you're doing work in the digital domain, which actually there's no other domain right now. You need to save. You please make sure your left hand is locked into the space between Command and S. That's
Yes.
the space it is. So you do Command S with your left hand without even thinking. And if you can do that, believe me, it'll save you a lot of grief much later on. So what he just
Absolutely.
said, very important. Save, 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 save.
Yeah.
So, Sunny, tell me about your working with hardware. I know you are a gear nerd like a lot of us. I have a lot of those guys on this show. So tell me, your penchant for hardware still in this day of digital age. What's going on?
So, if I had to simply put it across in today's time, for me, what would work is record out of the box and mix in the box. This is the simplest formula I have been following. So, uh, I know different people have different ways of working. There is nothing right or nothing wrong. There are people
Sure.
who have achieved great mixes with only outboard gear, and there are people who have achieved great mixes or production with only the gear which is inside the box, which is the digital domain. I am a hardware buff also, partly for the reason that initial years I didn't have much exposure to it, so I wanted to check out new gear, and the easiest way was for me to get them. That's what you end up doing, right? When you
Right.
get some money when you're working in an industry, and also in today's time, getting a laptop is very easy. KJ, I worked for 9 years, and after that I bought my first laptop because I had no access to a machine. It's not because of the money part or any of it. You're just used to this, going to this studio life and being there and meeting up people, etc. Then
Right.
digital domain took over. So I do have a fair share of hardware, and it makes a great difference sometimes. Sometimes it just does not make any difference at all. So instead of chasing what others are doing, you do what is right for you. Don't think that if you get an SSL master bus compressor, your mix will start sounding great. It will not, until unless you're using it that way. Maybe when you're recording the bass guitar live and that time you have an access to an SSL, it might just make the sound totally different. So commit to it. The most important thing of working with a hardware is to commit. If you
Commit.
are just having a manly Vox box and you're not using the compression or the EQ parameter if required, then you are not using it. Then just buy a pre just like that. And committing is great fear. Like people are really
Or
scared
overcoming
of.
the fear, whichever case it might be.
Exactly. So so I've learned learned at the hard way, I would say that because mixes go through so many changes, and every time you print a master through hardware, there is something which sounds different. Alan Myerson, I went for this masterclass by Alan Myerson last year in November, and we asked him, I asked him that what do you like more, the digital in the box domain, which you are doing right now, or else the out of box? So he said, I wish I could go back to analog consoles, but I won't, even if they have given access, because who is going to go and sort out the noise which comes from one channel and this, and in a surround mix environment with 40, 50 tracks running at that point of time. He played some cues from Gladiator and all those
Right.
films. So he said, where do you figure out, where do you have the time? You don't have the time for it. And plus, there are a lot of gears which have really, like plugins especially, which have made it
Yeah.
possible for you to reach where you want to.
Absolutely. I mean, I compare a lot of hardware with some emulations, and people ask me what's going on with them, and I have to confess, on a blind test, even I would not be able to make out the difference unless you're pushing the software or the hardware to it beyond its like normal capability. That's when
Absolutely.
maybe you can hear the hardware and the software difference, how they kind of handle when the signal is pushed into it. But less than that, you would not be able to really make out the difference. And of course, the ease of just being able to open a file and have all your effects and plugins right there, rather than my poor assistant sometimes goes through hell if we do a half and a hybrid system, which I have, and then we have to recall something, even just for a
I
minor
know.
small change. Oh, I feel sad. But I have done my share of doing 2-inch and analog console 64 channels and
Absolutely.
recording all of them, even at AR's place with 88R. Me and Sridhar have gone and sat down and recorded. And I'll just share this with you that when AR bought that first console, 88R, the Neve console, he had no idea that it would take that much time. It took us 45 minutes to recall a console, boss.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I remember we were doing Rang De Basanti, and he said, "Okay, I've heard this song, so can you set up the next song?" And Sridhar looked at him and said, "Why don't you take a walk to Panchatan, have coffee, and come back?" And he said, "Why?" Sridhar said, "We have to recall this console." And I said, "But it is true recall. Why is it taking so much time?" He was used to an
Yeah,
O2R. Think
yeah,
about that, right?
yeah,
Which was
yeah,
just
yeah.
pressing a switch and everything. and he actually was furious, saying, "Why didn't anybody tell me this? Like, it will take 45 minutes to recall. I mean, this is nonsense in today's day and age." But he had already bought that console, so we had to live with it. So yeah, that can be a little daunting task for people who are into the
Yeah.
hybrid systems. And if you have good assistance, then hey, go ahead, man. If that's what that does it for you, it's separate story.
Yeah.
So tell me, Sari, do you have like a favorite what should I say, processing
Piece of
chain
hardware.
which you really like? Piece of hardware, piece of plugin. See, everybody wants to know that because
Yeah.
they want to know अगर सनी उस plugin को use करता है मैं भी करूंगा तो मेरा भी mix ऐसे
So,
हो जाएगा,
change हो जाएगा. Correct.
change
That
हो
is true.
जाएगा. So do you
To
have
be
anything?
to be very honest, even probably in my initial, like really initial years, I probably would have also thought the same. Maybe I've also worked on O2R a lot, and in back in
Yeah,
2000, 2001, 2002 time, those are the most popular consoles. Plus recallable, and also you would have done way more, but an entire album used to be mixed in one day. It's like 8 songs one day, it, right? So they wouldn't be like one song one day and let's think over it and all, let's lock it, boss. So coming if I had to really nail down a few things, if for my entire production recording work, I would say a Manly reference microphone. That is one of my main things to go. A Manly Vox box, Culture Vulture, Thermionic Culture Vulture. These 3 units are probably the ones which I would say, if anything, everything I have to set aside, but these 3 units I will definitely use, because Culture Vulture is like a harmonic distortion,
Harmonic distortion.
unit, and it just creates this amazing. Yeah, exactly. So I've used it for guitar dubs. Uh, I don't know what all bass dubs, and in fact even one of my songs which I had composed for a Telugu film, I'd processed the entire song, individual tracks, through Culture to just get that grit. So
So
these
you are
things,
recording. So what you are saying is you are actually committing to your DAW through that while you
yes,
are recording through. So you're recording
yes,
through the culture vulture. Oh, okay.
yes, yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
not for
super,
everything,
man.
obviously, but yeah.
Right. But you just
Yeah,
the way you work, like you said, with the bass or whatever, you actually record
yeah.
with that.
I
So,
recorded through that, yeah.
guys, for people who don't know, Sunny is also a composer who's done music for 10 or 12 films. Telugu, some of them. And
Yes,
which other
Telugu,
language?
most of them actually.
Most of them.
Actually, Telugu
Wow.
mostly, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just a thing. Like I was very skeptical of doing it, but there are friends, and then there are friends. So they convince you for anything. Like, "Tu jump kar ja, main dekh lunga," वैसा वाला.
oh, it's like that. So, which of the
Yeah,
reference, like you said, manly reference mic? I saw the recently
yeah.
photograph you holding the white one or the silver one. Was that the
Oh,
new one
that's
that you got?
so. Yeah, so the new ones are actually thanks to Shiv Sood.
Yeah.
Because when I'm touring, I have a lot of Manly gear in my live unit. Also, I have Manly Force and Manly Very Mu and stuff. So he kind of told the Manly office, and I had a small repair job also. So I went and visited Manly, and since then my relationship with Manly has been great, thanks to
Mhm.
Shiv. Shiv from Sound Team, if some
Sound team,
people
yes.
don't know, yeah. So when they were launching the anniversary edition, which is only 100 mics, I need to
Wow.
get my hands, yeah, get my hands on it. So probably somewhere last year, Shiv told me this, and this Jan he actually sent me the piece. So
Oh,
I'm very
wow.
happy. I have, because I have two Vox boxes. I had one, and then someone was selling a used one that also Shiv got to me, and I just picked it up. It's one unit which you could stereo link and even do your processing,
Yeah.
etc. So yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah, I love it.
that
I mean, I love the
yeah.
Voxbox. Unfortunately, I don't have it, but I've used it on various studios abroad. The Voxbox
Huh.
and some studios here. And now, luckily,
Yeah,
UAD has a version, so I can use some parts of the basic tonality of that sound which you get a little bit. I can
yeah,
get access to that, and so it's a great fun using that unit, I must say.
yeah.
And so, what happens to your hardware when you travel with such tube stuff? When you travel with that, what happens to it, man?
And every time when we return back from the tour, I get a huge bill. to fix it, but you have to like so back in 2015, just had this kida. I had gone through some concerts, went and seen some live concerts of some artists from abroad, and they sounded phenomenal. And I was like, it's it's not only about the mix, also it's got that character. When you really work a lot, you start understanding the difference of character.
True.
Probably that's the main difference between analog and digital in today's time. It's just the character. So I was like, okay, I need to start doing the hardware part of it. So I just had a discussion with Arijit and Tarsim, and they said it's okay, cool. So we went ahead when we purchased a lot of outboards. So
Yeah, I
we
saw
have
your
like
racks.
yeah, so it really made when we watched Coldplay live once, and Coldplay has this unique live sound. I met the engineer also, like he's a brilliant guy. So they had this unique and very unique sound, which is like a nice saturated ball, and it's not really pump. Nothing is pumping out in a very weird way or mids popping out or something. It was very nice and fat. So I was like, I want to achieve that. I'm sure I have not achieved that much till that extent, because everything matters. The musicians matter. The kind of
Sure.
songs we are playing, it matters.
Absolutely.
But yeah, in some songs we did try keeping the arrangements like that so that we could get the sound. So once the sound achievement happens, and then when we all heard at the FOH, we were like, this comes with a risk of traveling and taking it. Also, especially when you're traveling back-to-back shows, you have to carry the gear with you. There is no other choice. So including the band's gear, we have some 1 ton worth equipment which goes with us. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a
I
lot.
think you'll have
So
to ask Arijit or TM to kind of start getting your own plane now.
I wish we could, but the thing is that handling at airports is not very great.
Yeah.
We do try
Yeah,
as
that's the
much as
worry.
possible. We make as much as like the best of the best cases we can, but things break and you have to be ready for that. So you
Do you
have to
take
be
the
ready
tubes out?
someday.
Somebody
No,
asked me, do you take
I
the tubes
don't.
out?
No,
Just leave them in.
no. I really don't take, because it's really time consuming. If I have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show, I can't take out every gear and then take the tube out and then put it back again. So I rather carry some spare tubes, and we like basic knowledge of basic repairs are there, but I have to also be prepared that if I'm using a tube tech gear on Arijit's vocal, tomorrow show it might not work and I have to manage without it. So that is the most important part of it, that you have to be prepared for anything worse.
Great. Oh, so that's good to know. And
Yeah.
apart from that, any of your in your work and in your experience, you have found somebody's work that you really like, that you look up to, has been no, I mean, could be a mentor, so to speak, but it's some like in production and also in engineering.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Yeah.
works that you followed over a period of time, and you really kind of
Absolutely.
look into that dig into that for references every time that you work,
Yes.
either here or
Yeah.
abroad. Has that happened to you, and who's that?
It has happened. So back in 2008, I was just, I used to make beats and stuff earlier, and little bit of music production because I had no musical training as such. So in 2008, I saw this video of Will.i.am on YouTube, and I was really struggling with this phase which comes every alternate year in my life, that I'm not a trained musician. It comes every every alternate year, and then 1 year will be nice, and the next year I'll think of the same thing. So this was one of those years, and Will.i.am in a YouTube interview, he was so fucking nice. He just went and abused. He just went and he sat in the computer. He has his Pro Tools machines over there, and he said, "This is my instrument. This is what I work with," and that blew my mind off. Like it's something else, that kind of courage to just come forward and say that, I don't know much. This is what my instrument
Yeah.
is. This is what my musical instrument. And that guy has like really inspired me so much. Will.i.am, unknowingly, I was supposed to meet him last year. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But yeah, he's really inspired. And in terms of production, there are many people. Daft Punk,
Yeah.
just looking at their products from India, A.R. Rahman has inspired like so many of them. And with this, I would like to bring out one one incident you won't remember probably. In 2007, when I'd moved back to Bombay, and I used to have this conversation with you on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, that
So
I
yeah, so one day so for guys who are seeing this, so one day I asked KJ, I really want to see one of your sessions, and he was really kind enough to actually tell that come over. I'm in Yashraj. Where are you? I said I'm bang opposite Yashraj, and he said it's okay, come over. I couldn't go that day. I regret that day till date, but because I had some work at Sandeep Chowda's place. But he was very kind enough, and I was really inspired by his work back then. Then in 2011, KJ wanted to convert some files from Cubase to Pro Tools,
yeah.
and he put up a Facebook post, and then I was like, this is the time for me to go and meet him. So I went to your home studio, and I
Yeah.
did that whole conversion on my laptop. I remember
Right.
that. But thanks
I
for that.
remember.
Like, I just for people to be able to say, yes, okay, you can come and look at my session is a great thing. It's similar to what I said about Will I Am and a lot of other musicians who have gone ahead and openly told that I'm not musically trained, but here is the thing. This is how I do it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I would say
there's
that's
nothing to be ashamed of.
yeah,
Your body of work is a proof. That's a calling card, and it doesn't matter like what you know or don't know, but it's what you make of it, what you make of what you have, and what you make of the
absolutely.
circumstances and things around you, and come up with the
Yeah.
best that you can. I mean, it's like going back to your mixes and you wish you could have done them better, but in that time they were the best that you could do, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
it's like that. So an engineer opening an old session is always dangerous, I would say. Don't do that, my friend. Leave it. If it's released, don't go
Just
back
forget
there.
it.
Just forget it's gone. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
Sunny, what else? I'm just trying to figure out anything else that we've left out, but I just wanted to take you through quickly through some of the rounds that I do to ask people so that people get to know you a little better. So, what's your favorite
Absolutely.
color?
Oh my God, okay. My favorite color would be probably the color which I can hide behind very well, which is black.
Black is your favorite color.
Yeah,
Okay.
must be. You'll see me in most of the places wherever you see me in the producer engineer party we had and everywhere. I'll be in black. Yeah.
You will be in black, yeah. I remember now. Yes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cuisine? What is like, would you love to eat? What's the favorite?
I'm a big time foodie. I love to eat like everything possible on the plate. I'm majorly like there's nothing fixed. You know how some people have like okay a variety of things in front of you. Give me anything, I'm like it's okay, I'll eat it. Yeah, probably. So there's no favorite cuisine as such.
Favorite on that, okay. Any
Yeah.
favorite music of late that you've heard? Anything that suddenly struck you? Say, wow, what is this?
Absolutely. So I follow this series called as Four Producers One Sample.
Hmm.
It's run by this gentleman named Andrew Huang. So I heard this song called as Holy. So there's this girl producer from LA. She took the sample and she changed it into like an entire song. So her production elements were brilliant, and I ended up taking her stems. I spoke to her, and then she had put her
Did
stems
it?
on Bandcamp. So I ended up making like another version of it altogether. So she's brilliant, and she's one producer to
Look out for.
look out for.
Great, we are
Also,
into 38 seconds. So come on, quickly.
oh damn. Also James Blake. James
James
Blake, if
Blake.
anyone has not heard, he's brilliant.
All right.
Anderson Park. Yeah,
Anderson Park.
I think there are multiple people. Then we get into a chain of people. Yeah, but, yeah.
Okay, so that's
Look
good
out
enough
there.
for people to kind of look into what you really like and get inspired by, and they can also maybe go back and listen. So, guys,
Yeah.
thank you once again, Sunny, for taking your time out and sharing such beautiful stories and information. Play
Thank
safe.
you so much for
Lockdown is
having me.
open, but everybody, please be safe. Don't go out if you
Please,
can.
please feed the strays if you can. Please leave some water for them.